Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com. I got Ken Swartz back, Purple Power C60. Ken, it is great to see you. It's been a couple months since we last talked. How's life over there at Purple Power?
Well, life's going pretty good over here. It's we're out and also the weather's not too bad. It's not gotten cold yet in Colorado, where our company's located.
It will.
It will.
So
keeps threatening to.
We're going to keep this. This is going onto YouTube. Hello, all you YouTube analysts. We are not going to say anything you don't like. Everybody already knows what we're talking about when we talk about people getting sick in the winter. And it is the winter. And what I first want to talk about before we get to C60 is vitamin D. Vitamin D. I was reading a little about vitamin D, and it is literally, it isn't found in any foods that we eat unless it's fortified with it. And it comes from the sun. So in the winter, if everybody's wondering why they get so sick, it's not necessarily because it's so cold or it's so damp. It's because you don't have any vitamin D in your body, is my take. What's your take?
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Years ago, I was a teacher, and the first thing I did, as a first-year teacher, is they handed me a bottle of vitamin D. And they said, you're working in a germ factory, and you need to take this so you don't get sick sick during the year. And so that's one of the basic things you do is just always do vitamin D. I did about 10,000 IUs. It's international units, it's on your bottle. So that really worked well for me. But the other thing you got to do, if you take vitamin D, you need to take vitamin K with it.
I heard that. Why is that?
Vitamin K helps the body process the vitamin D. And vitamin K is usually found in, I think, green leafy vegetables.
Okay.
So if you had sunlight and green leafy vegetables, that's what you have in the summertime. That's good for your health. And then in the wintertime, well, you can probably still get green leafy vegetables if they maybe, well, of course there is that drought in California, so it's harder to get those, but
I don't know if any ships are coming in, bringing in,
that's not going to happen.
Vegetables from South America either.
No, things like pineapples and coconuts and other things from overseas, they're having a real hard time of it. And and the reason is, it's the trucking problem. They could, the California passed some regulations, and 70% or so of the trucks in the United States can no longer go in there. And then if you go there, you have to sit and wait. These are independent owner operators don't want to go down there because you got to sit, wait hours and hours to get your load, and then hours and hours to clear out, and you got to pass tests they give you. And so they said, no, I'm just going to do something else,
Yeah, and you got to pay double for the gas you're using to ship.
Oh yeah,
insanity is run wild in California. And I think the big thing with the California new law is that because you can't be an independent contractor anymore.
Yeah.
They count you as a full-time employee, which means you got to get all these benefits and all these issues and all this, extra pay that you got to pay out. California is literally trying to destroy America. Not on their own. I think New York's helping too, and other states, but California, being that it's such an important import type of state, it's closest to Asia where most of our stuff is made. They're literally, I think the federal government should come over and take over the whole government of California if that's even possible, because clearly they're cutting off the world from the goods and stuff coming from the East.
Oh yeah, it's the supply chain shortages are, it's not going to be a very happy Christmas for a lot of people, because things just aren't getting there. You could go around, I guess you can go to Florida and other East Coast ports and get off, but that's you got to go the other way around the planet. That takes a lot longer and costs more. So yeah, I just don't know. Yeah. And I just don't know what they're going to do. Other countries don't have this problem. It's just kind of like the US is just, it's kind of like, turning into a backward third world country.
Well, for most of us on the road to Ruta, it's very clear that they're trying to destroy our country, destroy the middle class, make us completely and totally dependent upon our government, who is, I have never seen a more inept government everywhere these days, in every state, in every locality, and obviously in the federal government. Everybody seems to have lost a brain somewhere along the way.
Something could be happening, but it's just, but you'll own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab. You'll own nothing and be happy. All right, Klaus, let's see you do that.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what they're trying to do.
Oh, I know. Let's get back to, I just want to touch on this vitamin T thing, because it has become such an important thing. in our lives in the last couple of years that it is something that has been researched to death. Kind of like C60 has been researched to death. Vitamin D has been researched to death, and all the powers that be know how wonderful vitamin D is to keep you healthy, except they don't push it. I haven't yet to hear any FDA official or CDC official say, take your vitamin D, for God's sake. You're not going to have any vitamin D in the winter. Take your vitamin D.
Oh yeah, but where do all the FDA leadership come from? They come right out of big pharma into the FDA, and then they leave. They go back to big pharma. I think the last head of the FDA is now working for, was it Pfizer maybe? I don't know, but yeah, so it's just a revolving door. And what are they going to do? They know it's just the same way. You know, it's like Austin. Remember our Secretary of Secretary of Defense? He was working for Raytheon, right? Yep. He was the head of the Army, and all those top generals. They get out, they go work for the defense contractors they'd just been ordering weapons from. And then they just recycled him back in, you know, and you think that the next Raytheon weapon system won't get approved by the Defense Department? I don't think so. You know, it's that way everywhere. It's not just in the, you know, FCC has its own problems with.
It's in the Federal Reserve. It's in the Treasury. It's in the regulators is the worst. The regulators, starting from corporate America, the banking centers coming in to be a regulator, and then going back out to make the big payout in a cushy job. I've exposed that many times, and it just keeps happening over and over and over again. The revolving door that is destroying our country. We got to stop this. We got to stop allowing it. Stand up where you see something wrong. Stand up and scream about it. Get yourself a YouTube channel, even scream. Yeah. Tell your friends and family. Make them hate you. They're hating you means you're saving the country.
Yeah, it's people better step up, because you know you've seen the things with the various ladies like what is it, Penny Kelly and the other ones on JC's site where they do all the tarot readings. Things aren't looking so good up there. And you know they all see it, and it's the same with the remote viewers. They're seeing something coming. You know, it's a little harder that way, but yeah. So we know something's moving down there. But you know, people can take care of themselves, like vitamin D. You know, it does over 500 different biochemical processes, right? It's just necessary, critical for your bone health, for the, you know, just everything. It functions inside the cells. It's just a key things, and you need the K with it. But that's not all Americans are really deficient in. Another one is magnesium. You can't process calcium without magnesium, and people are, you know, really deficient in magnesium, so they're taking all these calcium supplements or, you know, drinking the milk, and it's not doing them any good, because without magnesium you can't process the calcium. So that's another one. And then the third one is iodine. But you got to be careful on that, because you can take too much iodine. So, but you still need it.
Do you get that from, like, I think fish? Or
yeah, fish. Yeah, if you were lived on the seacoast and you had fish and seaweed and stuff, you'd probably be fine, you know, for iodine. But if you're living in the Midwest and you're eating, you know, regular kind of food, you're probably deficient. You're semi-goiter. I'm not a medical doctor, by the way, and I don't give medical advice. I'm just telling you my personal opinion and what I do for myself. So, but you have to be careful with iodine, because you can overdose on it. It's kind of, the others you can't really overdose on. I guess you can if you took really huge amounts of vitamin D, but that's, you know, people aren't going to take that many.
Yeah. And you got to remember, in the winter, you pretty much get none.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no vitamin D found naturally in foods that I know of. There's some fortified stuff, but it comes from the sun or supplements.
Oh yeah, like people in Siberia and other places in Alaska, they have UV lights that they're literally tanning beds in their houses, because if you're above the Arctic Circle, you get zero light for a large time. So you have to do that, otherwise you get SAD, seasonal affect disorder. Anyway, it's they call it SAD. That's, they gave it that name, and it just, you know, people get depressed in the wintertime because they're not getting enough vitamin D. Basically, it's not that the sun or it's cold. It's that they're not having the vitamin D. Their biochemistry isn't working right, and then they have, you know, their brain doesn't work right. So yeah, vitamin D, but and vitamin D, vitamin K, magnesium. And anyway, it's probably just a good idea to take a multivitamin, multi-mineral, just because our food is so depleted, especially the way they grow it now with all the, you know, the fertilizers. They kind of mined out the soil. We don't have, you know, organic food, of course, is always better than the other type, but
We don't even know what that other type is.
yeah, exactly. Who knows? Yeah, it's just yeah, what they sprayed on it. But they found, like, if, for instance, if you ate all organic for 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, 90% of the pesticides and herbicides would get out of your body.
You hear that, people? You hear it? You heard it here. Joe, check out, my wife did we did this thing on the road to Ruta when we were in a spiritual mode, and it was a 21-day raw food cleanse where we ate 1 week of raw food, the next week of raw smoothies, and the week after that, raw juices. And I've never felt better in my life. Of course, now I'm back eating average normal stuff for the most part, but I know how important it is to keep that the raw vegetables going through your body. And it is so important right now because of all the things we're having to deal with the media and with our government. Everybody, I've been screaming about C60 for a long time. How's the C60 sales going? Do you see an uptick in C60 sales?
There's a little bit, but C60 is relatively unknown. It's in the woo-woo world. They know about it, but for the average person on the street, they don't even know what it is. Even a lot of medical doctors don't even know what C60 is. The people in the alternative medical field do, but so it's still, it's still relatively unknown to the population. And of course, there's a lot of things that are relatively unknown to the population
on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're just watching, and it's also, you got to think, there's different types of people. There's a lot of people that read the news, right? Those people tend to be informed. There's people that watch their news, and they watch their news and somebody tells them how to think, what to do, where, and and they're running the fear porn 24/7, which has well, you see how it runs them. And Absolutely. When you're afraid, when you're in fear, you have the amygdalas click back your brain functioning to the fight and flight response. So the frontal lobes don't work. If you're in fear, the frontal lobes don't work, and that's where they want to keep them.
We've seen that in the crypto market many times.
Oh yeah.
So as we come into the winter season, and I want to be careful with the language here because I don't want to get kicked off YouTube again. How can C60 help with like the winter colds and flus and things like that?
Well, C60 is just an antioxidant. So what it does, C60 does, it can lift the oxidative burden your cells are under so that they can function normally the way that they're meant to be. And the other good thing C60 does, it only takes care of 2 oxidative radicals, we think, in the body. One is superoxide, that's an oxygen with an extra electron, and that's made in your mitochondria. So as we get older, then there's a thing called SOD, superoxide dismutase, which usually takes care of superoxygen. But as we get older, our cells make less of it. So the mitochondria have to kind of turn down their energy production. So when you take C60, it works as an SOD mimic. So that allows the mitochondria to turn back on and produce a lot more ATP, which is the energy molecule of your cell. And if you got a lot more ATP, then it can get all the jobs done that you need to get done. And if it's an immune cell, then the immune cell can work better. I mean, any cell works better that way. And the other one that C60 takes care of is the hydroxyl radical. That's basically a water molecule missing a proton with just an electron. It's like a loose electron goes around, and it's an oxidative radical, destroys stuff. It causes a cascade and tears up cell membranes, cross-links proteins, damages DNA, RNA. So if you get it before that happens, and that's what the radiation thing I talked about earlier, I was working on the metal oxygen fusion reactor, which someday you're going to be hearing about that. It's starting to happen. So, but I took it because C60, they gave one set of rats C60, the other set of rats didn't get C60. They hit them with a fatal dose of radiation. The C60 rats lived, and the control rats that didn't get C60, they died. And usually radiation makes hydroxyl radicals. So C60 takes care of those hydroxyl radicals. So if you got, random radiation going around, it can help protect against that kind of stuff. And also hydroxyl radicals are made in biochemistry as your cell runs. It's a common, it's a waste product that needs to be taken care of.
I can't tell you how easy it is to take my C60 every day. I mean, I don't even measure it out. I undo the cap, I take a swig, I put it down, and then I do it again the next day. And I can't even imagine what it's doing to my body, the stuff it's flushing out. You're very good at talking about the analytical side of how it all works. It just makes me feel better. And everybody I know who takes it, they feel better. And that's what really matters.
Well, I'd be proud to announce this will be the first announcement of a new product from C60 Purple Power.
What do you got?
And there it is. Oh,
Hold it over your chest.
yeah, there we go. There it is. What it is. It's a little packets. Comes a little box with 30 packets in it, and they're little like a single serving packet. So you could put this in your purse or your pocket,
Oh, wow.
and then just tear it open and take it. So you put it in your coffee. So now we have it 30 single serving packets in these little boxes. You
Look at
take
that.
off the top, so you can take off the top. It's got a little tear thing. So and so when you have it here, it's then they're all available right there. So
you guys, if you want to get this right now, is it available on the website?
it's about to be available.
It's about to be
like
available.
a day or two from now, it's going to be available. But
Okay.
right now, we figured, hey, we'll just break the story here.
Awesome. So you guys on the Road to Ruta, go to the Road to Ruta website, and there's an affiliates page on the top. C60 Purple Power is the first one, and click on that, and you can get right to where you need to get to. Amazing stuff. It will change your life. I am very excited about it, and I like the coconut most, but they got avocado.
Yeah, we got avocado and olive oil. And when it first came out, I was using it for the project. Everything was an olive oil, which extra virgin, and I have a slightly sensitive digestive system. So if I took too much olive oil, it would go out the other side. So I started making it in avocado oil and olive oil for purists that like that, and also the MCT coconut oil. Because MCT coconut oil, they're short chain triglycerides. That's what MCT is. Medium chain triglycerides are actually short chain. But your liver can turn them into ketones, which is an immediate energy source for your cells. And it doesn't put on fat, because the cells will just take those ketones and immediately burn them. It can't go through the process of making fat. So you can't get fat with MCT coconut oil. A lot of athletes and people that have like glucose processing issues like MCT oil, because it gives you that, you get flex fuel for your body. You can use glucose or ketones.
Awesome. And I have, I stocked up for my my bunker. In my bunker, I have so many bottles of this stuff. I might have got the largest individual purchase of C60 because I'm tired of my family waiting to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So I bought a whole bunch, and I'm just Christmas presents, Thanksgiving presents, knocking on the door saying, how's your C60 supply? You need any more? That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, we're doing okay for us, but I'm just telling you out there, because I'm in, the production business. We work in, making it, and there is just a huge amount of supply chain shortages out there. And it's happening everywhere. I mean, look, the farmers can't get repair parts for their tractors because it's sitting out on the ocean somewhere or whatever. It's just, and you can't get this part. It all it takes is one thing, and it doesn't work anymore. And this thing is escalating. It's just escalating more and more and more, and more places are just don't have, what they need to function. A lot of people can put important things on freight, air freight, and haul it over on air freight, but there's a lot of things you can't do that with because they're just so heavy and bulky.
And I think, also as Christmas comes and you've got this money to spend because, the government's giving out free money these days. A good idea to think about, put it in the back of your head is if you can't buy someone a Christmas present, like a sweater that they'll throw away next week, why not give them some physical silver? Why not? Oh my God, you could change their lives with the physical silver, with what's going on in the silver market, the short position being massive as usual. But more and more people understanding that the price of silver has been suppressed for so long and is 1/2 of its all-time high. Twice it hit $50 in 2011 and 1980. And how much money has been printed since 1980?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's huge. I think 40%, they increased the money supply 40% last year or this year or whatever it was for that, for their, rebooting things. And, and there was a time when silver was more valuable than gold. Like back in the ancient days of Egypt, because gold is a native metal, like copper, sometimes a native metal. Silver is very rarely a native metal. And until and so silver was way more valuable than gold back in the Egyptian times. But then eventually people learned how to smelt metals, take sulfide ores and smelt metals. And then it went to then the value was about 10 to 1, because for every 1 ounce of gold you would make from ores, you would generally produce 10 ounces of silver. So the production was the value. And that's all that, like during the Roman times, the medieval times, it was always pretty much 10 to 1. It's only lately, when we get into the big central banks, that's when you started seeing it.
But we've also got, and it should be the opposite, because when industrialization kicked in and electronics, so much silver started to be consumed that even though they're pulling it out of the ground right now, it's 7 to 1. So it should, it's at 75 to 1 right now. It should be at least 7 to 1. But remember this, most of the silver that's been mined is gone. We'll never give it back. It has been destroyed in electronics, in flat screen TVs, and smart bombs, in solar panels. We're never gonna melt down a cell phone to get the 1/100th of an ounce of silver that's in a cell phone, unless the price of silver is, $100,000 an ounce, which I wouldn't put out of the realm. I think the price of silver for the last 100 years has been purely 100% determined by what the banks want the price of silver to be. That's it. It's got nothing to do with what they dig out of the ground. It's got nothing to do with the intrinsic value, as people like to say. It's 100% rigged, and it has been for over 100 years. And that price suppression, that price suppression has built up so much.
Well, you can see the naked shorts all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
They jump, more silver ounces on the market and all of a sudden than exist in the physical universe, or at least in humans possession. It's like, and then they get away with it again and again and again. And they get they get arrested and slap on the wrist and a fine that's less than the money that they made rigging the market.
Yep.
It's like, and then they just go back doing it again. Because what are you going to do? Stop them? What if they get just slap on the wrist? Oh, we made a bunch of money. Let's just do it again. We'll just be sneakier this time. That's all.
The sad thing is that if it is, as I suspect, the main manipulations from the U.S. government is 100% illegal, and is legal based on the 1934 Gold Act that created the Exchange Stabilization Fund that said we can participate in any market to stabilize the dollar.
Yeah, and that's what it is, and there's the problem. They're creating dollars out of thin air. It's supply and demand. If you create a whole bunch of supply of dollars, and the demand stays the same, well, then the value of the dollar is going to fall. But the whole economics, I do have an economics degree from years back, and right now we're the U.S. government is between a rock and a hard place, because they're creating all this inflation. But what's holding up the equities, the stock market, and which they're pumping to just crazily, is the 0% interest rates. Mm-hmm. But if you have 10%, it's, what is it going to be, 8% inflation this year? So if you tell us, yeah, exactly. It could be, in food and fuel, it's way more. And then, but so if you put money away, well, you're getting what, a 1/4% or less for your money, and it's losing 8% a year. So you just lost 7 3/4% on your money. And people aren't going to want to loan money out of that. They say, no, I want 10% interest rate. I want 8% interest rate. But if that happened, then the market would crash. And then there's something even worse on top of that. One of the things people haven't noticed is the stock buybacks, which used to be illegal. Another thing that, anyway. And so companies have been borrowing money at like 1/4%. And then they buy back their stock, because if you push the stock price up as an executive in the company, you get paid by what the value of the stock is. Especially if you're taking stock options, you get, money, you can do that. So they've been loading their companies all across the United States with huge amounts of debt that's going at 1/4%. Now this stuff has to roll over sometimes in a year, sometimes in 5 years, but they got so much, it's rolling over every year, right? And if they all of a sudden have to, at 1/4%, they can support that debt. But if it goes, interest rates go up to like 5% or 10%, there's going to be a large number of American companies which will go bankrupt, because there's no way they can handle the interest debt service on the debt that they've got. It just won't have, they just can't.
Yep. And the contagion will take out company after company, bank after bank, individual after individual, and then it's over. Once, they used to call them too big to fail banks. I would say every bank is a too big to fail bank now. They have to bail out every single bank. I saw something from Wall Street on Parade that showed how much money the big banks, and there's like 20 of them, took during the 2008 crisis. You know, they had TARP
Yeah.
and all those programs. It was just a bank bailout. Giving Citibank was the number one. They took $2.3 trillion. $2.3 trillion they needed just to stabilize, just to get us to here. And that was just one bank. And most of the banks were, you know, $500 billion. And it's like, what the hell? So every time they make money, they get to keep the gains. They get to pay out all their executives. And when they lose, they make a bad bet. It's all socialized losses. It's all your government. It's all us that have to pay for it, either through taxes or through the devaluation of our currency.
Oh yeah.
Money.
And look at all the people in there that during the last, turn down 2008, they lost their houses, right? But the U.S. government bailed out all of those banks. Then it allowed them to turn around and take the houses from the people. I think was it Fink?
Yeah.
The guy that he was, I think he was running one of those, foreclosure firms where they just went in and threw tens of thousands of people out on the street. And now you're letting him, run other things. I mean, these are just financial criminals that are just everywhere, and nothing's been done. They're not, just like in the silver market, they fixed that. They're pumping they got the plunge protection team. They're pumping the market. But people, when you pump something up, pump, when it finally blows, it goes down, as much as you pumped it up. And yeah, so silver is a really, really, really good idea. And it wouldn't hurt to get some, and a little bit of cryptos too, because if the dollar goes worthless, how are you gonna, or hyperinflates, how are you gonna do transactions? I just need a new currency or some other type of currency. Silver is great for a lot of things, but you can't be, if you're buying a house or car or something, you can't be lugging around, big bags of silver.
We might have to. It actually might only be a couple silver dollars for a new car or a new house if silver's ever freely priced.
Oh, and also there's like a lot of one things about having a silver dollar with you is always a good idea, especially in the South and other places, because they used to have loitering laws. And if a guy had a silver dollar, you couldn't be arrested for loitering.
I love it.
Because of, or for being, a bum, right? Because you're not a bum. You got a dollar, you got a silver dollar, right? You can't be,
I'm not a bum. Hey, I got value.
Yeah.
So, hey, we could go on forever. I do want to say, Ken, we're on the same page about absolutely everything. And I think the number one thing for the Road to Ruta people right now is take care of your health, not just your physical health, but your financial health as well. And I mean, I can't think of a better way than through C60, vitamin D, and do a little research and get yourself some silver and some cryptos, and then just ride this thing out, because it's going to be a crazy time.
Yeah, well, food doesn't hurt either. Just get yourself prepared, because people are there's a lot of people seeing this, and just from a whole different perspectives, a lot of different perspectives, saying this is not going to last. And when it goes bad, it's really going to go bad, and you just have to be prepared.
Yep. And absolutely. And if you can grow your own food, do it, because you get you're in charge of it. You know what's happening to it. You know what's being put on it and in it. Other than that, you got to trust the government. I don't trust the government anymore. Ken Swartz, Purple Power C60. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Don't forget, everybody, go to the roadtoruta.com website. In affiliates, C60 is that big purple thing you'll see right at the front. Yeah. Click on that, and you can get all those little packets in a couple of days, I think.
Yes, that's right. Just C60 Purple Power. So we'll have these up and the advertisement on them pretty soon here, in just a couple of days.
All right, I get to order another stock for my warehouse.
That's great.
All right, thanks, Ken.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.